Scary facts you wish you never knew. It's very uncommon, but there have been many cases of people's intestines being ripped out from vacuum toilets on airplanes. So make sure to always stand up before you flush. A 58-year-old man living in Japan alone started hearing strange noises at night, and things around his house started moving around. So he decided to install a hidden camera and found out a woman had been living in his attic and cupboard for over a year. And the scary part is when he was checking the footage on his couch, she was actually in the cupboard right next to him. TikTok has a secret emoji. Type drool with the bars around it and see what you unlock. Until 2004, it was assumed the giant squid was only a myth, meaning there could be a handful of sea monsters we have yet to discover roaming the depths of the ocean. People with blue eyes are more likely to experience sleep paralysis more than anyone else. Now you can check if your phone activity is being monitored. Just click on share, slide to the very end and click more. And if any unknown apps appear before your contacts, delete them immediately. In 2013, Zac Efron was running through his house with socks on when he slipped and smashed his face so hard on his granite counter. It shattered his jaw and almost ended his life. He was knocked unconscious, and when he woke up, half his chin was hanging off his face. People then accused him of plastic surgery, but Zac Efron claimed that his cheek muscles overgrew to compensate for the muscles that were permanently damaged from the injury. If you like and follow me, you'll get smarter every day.
This is the moment 40-year-old Abraham Shakespeare won $30 million after playing the lottery, but little did he know that his life would be cut short because of this. In 2006, while Abraham worked his shift as a truck driver in Florida, he bought a lottery ticket, and a few days later, he finds out he won $30 million. Abraham went from struggling to becoming the richest man in his neighborhood. But with that came a lot of issues. People in the town began finding out about his money, and they would literally go to his house and ask him for money. But this was the thing, Abraham was too generous, and it was said that in total, he gave away about $1 million to his friends, family, and even strangers. Eventually, he got fed up and realized that he needed to better manage his finances. So in 2008, he meets a woman named Dee Moore, who claimed that she could help him protect and manage his money. Somehow, someway, Dee convinced Abraham to give her access and authority of his bank accounts, his assets, and even convinced him to sign over his $1 million home. By April 2009, Abraham mysteriously disappeared, and everything led back to Dee. When investigators questioned her, she told them that Abraham was alive, and to prove that, she secretly got Abraham's friend, Gregory Smith, to call Abraham's mother and pretend to be him. Not only that, but Abraham's friends and family began receiving text messages from his phone, reassuring them that he was still alive, but that he was tired of people asking him for money, so he left to live a quiet life far away. But here's the twist. It turns out that Abraham never learned to properly read or write, so there was no way that these messages were written by Abraham. Investigators quickly caught on that Dee was behind this, and after learning that Gregory was paid by Dee to pretend to be Abraham, investigators got him to work with them and find out where Abraham was. So then Gregory met with Dee and wore a hidden mic, and Dee admitted that Abraham was deceased and that she knew where his body was buried. Investigators dug up Dee's backyard and found Abraham's body buried under a concrete slab, and it was revealed that his cause of death was 2 gunshots to his chest. Investigators believe that Dee took Abraham's life after he realized that she was stealing his money. Dee was arrested and convicted of first-degree murder and sentenced to life in prison without parole. Now, despite investigators having all this evidence against her, she still claims till this day that she's innocent and that someone else took his life. But this other person she keeps mentioning doesn't exist.
This young girl was picked up by an eagle, and you won't believe what happens next. 3-year-old Svan Hyde played carefree in her village one summer afternoon in 1932 when she suddenly vanished. Moments later, dozens of villagers claimed to have seen a massive sea eagle bigger than any bird they ever seen swoop down, talons extended, and lift the little girl off the ground into the sky. Panic rippled through the village. Some screamed, others froze. Within minutes, 200 people launched a desperate search, climbing rugged cliffs, scanning ledges, and calling out her name. They found her shoe and a crumbled handkerchief, then nothing. For 7 agonizing hours, hope and fear alternated like tides. At last, 3 brave climbers scaled a nearly 180-meter sheer cliff toward a jagged eagle's nest. There, lying in the eagle's nest was Svan Hyde, unarmed, breathing, and just sitting there scared. It seemed that the eagle had mistaken her for prey, then for reasons unknown abandoned her gently instead of consuming her. After being rescued, she lived a full life and passed away peacefully on November 12, 2010 at age 81. Her story became local legend, celebrated in books, films, and even mirrored in the island's council emblem.
This is the scariest thing that could ever happen to you on the entire planet. Imagine living your entire life only to realise that it was all fake. This is 100% true and could happen to you. Time is relative, and if you're dreaming, it could actually only be 5 minutes in the real world, but it could feel like a whole day in the dream world, right? You've probably had a dream like that. So, a while back, a young boy went to school, and this particular day he was out in the playground and he got into a fight with some of the bullies there. It was quite a hefty fight. He got punched in the face, knocked down to the ground, but just managed to pick himself back up. After that, he decided to leave from the school because it was quite bad, went to a new school and just carried on his life. He ended up being a very successful businessman, owning multiple businesses, having, you know, the dream life. 2 kids, all the dream cars, dream house, going on nice holidays every year, everything you could imagine. Until one day when it all changed. The guy was now in his 50s, so he'd lived his entire life, really, and had everything he ever wanted. And one night, laying on the couch watching TV with his family, he stared over at the light on the other side of the room, and he noticed it just looked strange. It didn't look like it had done before. It was almost blurry. It just didn't make any sense. And he became fixated on this every single day, every single night. He would sit there and stare at this lamp, trying to figure out what was going on with it, because it was almost 2D, and it just didn't make any sense. That was when the realization came that the lamp was never there. The lamp wasn't even real. His life flashed before his eyes, and the young boy then woke up on the playground after being beaten up by the bully. He was knocked out from the fight, and his mind had literally created this whole life just in his head in that 5 minutes where he was knocked out, but it felt like an entire life to him. So he woke up and was asking people, where are my kids? Where's my wife? Where's my car? What's going on? Everybody laughed at him, was just like, you're literally a 10-year-old in school. What's going on? But this is genuinely real. This has actually happened to people, especially people who have been in comas. So what's to say we're not dead right now and our minds are just creating this whole life that's not even real?
These are some extremely unsettling facts, and I found all of these on Reddit. Number 1, the black market. The black market is something of an urban legend in common society, but it's very, very real. And did you know if you have enough money and access to the black market, you can purchase a slave for as little as $90,000? And while we're on the topic, number 2, slavery. Now, you think of slavery, you think of times in the past that are long gone now, thankfully, right? Wrong. Today, it's been estimated that there are about 30 million slaves on Earth right now, which is the most that there have ever been. And that to me is crazy. Number 3, the Challenger. Now, we all remember the absolute tragedy that was the Challenger exploding. But if you don't know, here's a quick rundown. The Challenger was a space shuttle that was taking off carrying a couple of passengers who were able to be a part of a space mission. But the thing is, a couple of the passengers included were normal people, like a teacher. And the taking off of the Challenger was going to be a publicized event on TV. Millions of people were tuned in to watch this space shuttle take off, and it did. And then it malfunctioned and blew up in the sky. And everyone saw it. And if that wasn't dark enough, listen to this. It's been confirmed that the people in the Challenger were still alive after it exploded. And the only reason they died was due to the impact when it came back down to the earth below. That one was rough, and I'm sorry I keep ruining your guys' days with these facts, but that's why.
Morbid Facts, Part 576. YouTuber Eugenia Cooney rose to fame in the early 2010s for her fashion and makeup videos, but over time, fans grew increasingly concerned over her visibly deteriorating health, with many suspecting a severe eating disorder. In many clips, she appears to be extremely thin, fragile, and shaking, with bones protruding beneath her skin, all while cheerfully discussing beauty routines. Viewers have pointed out moments where she seems disoriented or struggles to sit upright, yet continues streaming, sometimes for hours in front of thousands. As Eugenia's following grew, so did the concern that young and impressionable fans idolized her skeletal frame. In 2019, she entered treatment and appeared healthier upon returning, but over time her condition seemed to regress, sparking renewed accusations of glamorizing eating disorders to vulnerable audiences. YouTube and Twitch have faced mounting criticism for allowing Eugenia's content to remain accessible, despite the ongoing concerns about its potentially harmful influence.
These are some of the creepiest things that have ever been found inside of the ocean, and trust me, you won't believe this last one. There's a 200-year-old fully intact train that is at the bottom of the ocean off the coast of New Jersey, and nobody knows how it got there. Just recently, scientists discovered that there are spiders that live and breathe underwater. This is a tripod fish, and they live up to 15,000 feet deep and walk, not swim, across the ocean's floor. And finally, elongated skulls like this one were found deep in an underwater cave off the coast of Asia, and nobody knows what happened to them or how they got there.
Do you ever meet someone online and then you suddenly get that bad feeling? Kind of like their smile says hi, but their vibe is giving, I've got a body buried in the backyard. Maybe this is even somebody you want to go on a date with and you think to yourself, I'm just going to run a background check just for funsies, just to look. Spyfly is a tool that lets you run unlimited anonymous background checks. Nobody knows that you do it, and you can also do reverse phone lookups. So as it turns out, the guy you're thinking about dating, he's probably fine. But you never know, you can use Spyfly for everyone. New neighbors, Spyfly. Craigslist meetup, Spyfly. You got a PTA meeting? Spyfly. Just minimize the risk of going missing and do the research. So if you want to know who you're really dealing with, go ahead and check out Spyfly today.
Bone-chilling things caught on camera. This is a photo that was taken by a girl and her sister while at their cousin's wedding. Nothing seems to be strange or unordinary until you look closer. Between the heads of the two girls is the face of an old woman, but the sisters say that this isn't any old lady. They claim that the face of the photobomber belongs to their grandma. But the thing is, their grandma passed away years before this photo was taken. Due to their grandma's deep religious beliefs, the sisters think that their grandma wanted to pay their cousin a visit on her wedding day to congratulate her. What do you guys think? Comment below and follow for more.
An American teen's Antarctica dream just turned into a 5-week snowstorm of legal trouble. Literally. 20-year-old influencer Ethan Guo was trying to become the youngest person to fly solo to all 7 continents. He'd already done 6, and Antarctica was the final boss. But in June, instead of just flying over southern Chile like his official flight plan said, he pushed south, landed his little Cessna on Chilean Antarctic territory, and boom, officials said it was an illegal landing. Chilean prosecutors charged him with lying to aviation control and landing without authorization. This week, the charges were dropped under a few conditions. Donate $30,000 to Fundación Nuestros Hijos, a kids' cancer charity, within 30 days, leave Chile ASAP, and be banned from Chilean territory for 3 years. The problem? His plane's been deemed unfit to fly, and brutal winter weather has grounded regular flights. So he's been stuck at a military base for over a month, waiting for permission to leave. Guo says he's relieved and still wants to finish his mission. But for now, Antarctica's not letting him go.
You were today years old when you found this out. Every 5 seconds, 9 people die and 22 people are born. And in the time it's took me to tell you this one fact, 15 people have died. There are around 18 decillion different colours in the world and humans can only see 10 million of them. If you travelled 100 million light years away and looked back at Earth, you could theoretically see dinosaurs. And if you folded a piece of paper 42 times, it will be thick enough to reach the moon.
This man helps a woman with one arm rescue her mother. In this video, you can see a man hiking on the Oregon cliff when suddenly he hears cries for help. He quickly ran, and when he got there, he realized that the girl's mother had fallen off a cliff. He rushed to help and asked the daughter to grab a hold of her with 2 hands. That's when he realized the girl only had one arm, which is why she couldn't pull her back up. However, that didn't stop him because he used all his power to pull the mother back up, and luckily, no one was injured at all. Honestly, I'm just glad he was in the right place at the right time.
This is what your fingernails say about you according to science. If you have round bulbous club nails, this could indicate emphysema or a number of chronic lung conditions. Pitted nails where it looks like there is loads of little holes in your nails, this could indicate psoriasis, arthritis or eczema. Those lines which are horizontal indentations could indicate infection or malnutrition. Koinelicia, which are spoon-shaped nails, indicates iron deficiency, anemia. And nolanula, which is the half moon you get underneath your nails, could indicate anemia.
I want to talk about how Count Orlok doesn't really look like a classic vampire, because there's a lot of historical context to these looks. So first off, in the recent Nosferatu, the director had no interest in just recreating the Count Orlok look. Instead, he went back to old vampire folklore from New England, back when people thought vampires were just regular dead people that could possess people from the grave. So he wanted Count Orlok to look like a real Romanian nobleman that had died. And that's different from the original Count Orlok, who literally was supposed to look like a rat. Yeah, I don't know what to tell you, it's not really more complicated than that. The original came out in 1922 and is really just a metaphor for the Spanish flu. The Spanish flu killed 50 million people between 1918 and 1920 and was brought back on warships from people returning home after World War I. And they play on the fear of that plague in both movies. There's lots of ships and lots and lots and lots of rats. Rats, of course, have become a symbol of the plague because it's believed that they transported the bubonic plague around. But what's the most interesting in this, I think, is that the original Nosferatu came out 4 years after the Spanish flu started, and our Nosferatu came out 4 years after COVID. So I was always under the impression that no one died at Disney. Like, I had heard the rumor that technically they don't pronounce people dead until they're outside of the park, that way they keep their squeaky clean reputation. But that is so far from true, and actually this law firm has a compiled list of all of the incidents. I'm going to show you some of them, but if you're interested in dark stories, I think you'll like the podcast. So in 1973, 2 young boys actually hid in the park until it closed. They wanted to explore Tom Sawyer's Island, but as they started swimming across, one of them started drowning. The other one actually tried to save him and got him over to land, but he himself drowned in the process. And then it was actually the next year that someone was crushed on the America Sings ride. She was working the ride and she slipped in between a stationary platform and a revolving wall, and then the wall started turning. The ride had only opened a week earlier, so they weren't sure if it was because they didn't train her properly. And this one sucks because it's actually one of my favorite rides, but in 2003, the Big Thunder Mountain ride actually malfunctioned, and over a bump, it went airborne. The whole coaster hit the ceiling of the tunnel they were in, and then it came forward and all of the back cars crushed onto the first car, crushing someone. And there's a bunch more, and this place actually has a whole timeline of events, so not only was I wrong, but I was very wrong, as you can see.
This is why you should never make eye contact with a gorilla. The average silverback gorilla is 4 to 9 times stronger than the average human male. They can deadlift 1,800 pounds, and their grip can crush the skull of a crocodile. Luckily, gorillas in captivity and in the wild have been known to be very peaceful creatures that will only attack when provoked. But this doesn't mean there haven't been a few isolated cases of stupid people pushing their luck. In 2007, a woman frequently visited Germany's Rotterdam Zoo and spent a lot of time smiling at the male gorilla Bokito. Zoo employees warned her many times about making eye contact with him, since greater apes typically interpret eye contact as a display of aggression. But the woman claimed she and Bokito shared a special bond, so she ignored these warnings. Until one day, Bokito decided he had enough when some kids were throwing rocks at him, so he leaped over the water ditch that separated him from visitors. He immediately went straight for the woman and brutally attacked her, dragging her around for hundreds of feet and inflicting numerous broken bones as well as more than 100 bite wounds. The woman narrowly survived the attack, spending months in the hospital and undergoing several reconstructive surgeries.
Strange facts about Kim Jong-un that will seriously shock you. First up, Kim Jong-un does not go to the bathroom, or at least that's what the people of North Korea believe. The government tell the people of North Korea that Kim Jong-un does not need to use the bathroom because he is God. Next up, Kim Jong-un has to smile in every photo, but there is actually a reason behind it. This is because Kim Jong-un needs to demonstrate to the people of North Korea that he is the definition and the personification of joy. And lastly, Kim Jong-un loves basketball and is amazing friends with retired basketball player Dennis Rodman. And the two have become extremely close friends over the years.
These are some extremely unsettling facts, and I found all of these on Reddit. Number 1, the black market. The black market is something of an urban legend in common society, but it's very, very real. And did you know if you have enough money and access to the black market, you can purchase a slave for as little as $90,000. And while we're on the topic, number 2, slavery. Now, you think of slavery, you think of times in the past that are long gone now, thankfully, right? Wrong. Today, it's been estimated that there are about 30 million slaves on Earth right now, which is the most that there have ever been. And that to me is crazy. Number 3, the Challenger. Now, we all remember the absolute tragedy that was the Challenger exploding. But if you don't know, here's a quick rundown. The Challenger was a space shuttle that was taking off carrying a couple of passengers who were able to be a part of a space mission. But the thing is, a couple of the passengers included were normal people, like a teacher. And the taking off of the Challenger was going to be a publicized event on TV. Millions of people were tuned in to watch this space shuttle take off, and it did. And then it malfunctioned and blew up in the sky. And everyone saw it. And if that wasn't dark enough, listen to this. It's been confirmed that the people in the Challenger were still alive after it exploded. And the only reason they died was due to the impact when it came back down to the earth below. That one was rough, and I'm sorry I keep ruining your guys' days with these facts, but that's why.
Early 1900s, Eben Byers was born into a very wealthy family in New York City. He attended Yale University in Connecticut, which is a very prestigious university. After his college graduation, he didn't need a job. Eben most likely would have become a pro golfer had his father not just handed over the very successful metalworking business that he started that made his family wealthy. Overnight, he went from being just rich to being uber rich. Eben did attempt to spend his money, began buying up luxury properties. He bought horse racing stables, and he bought an entire luxury box at Forbes Field, which is where the Pittsburgh Pirates professional baseball team used to play. Eben also, through his role as chairman of this company, began connecting with and befriending very powerful people like the founders and executives at the Coca-Cola company. Eben's life was really going quite well until 1927. That year, Eben was 47 years old, and he took some time off to go catch a football game at his alma mater. Afterwards, he gets back on the train to head back to Pittsburgh, and this is a very long ride. Eben bought a first-class ticket. He was in a train car that had bunk beds for passengers to sleep on during the ride. The train is well on its way to Pittsburgh. Eben manages to roll to the side of the bed and actually falls onto the ground. He lands hard on his left side. He feels this shooting pain in his left arm. And then when they roll into the station in Pittsburgh, he went right to his physical therapist's office. So the physical therapist examines Eben's shoulder and determines that there's no structural damage to his arm. Eben is in pain, and so he says there's a new product that came online that's quite expensive. It's called Radathor, and it's supposed to dull aches and pains and give you this huge boost of energy. As prescribed, he drank a very small spoonful of this liquid, and right away he felt this surge of energy. The pain in his arm started to fade, and so over the next couple of days, Eben took the prescribed amount of this Radathor, and every day he felt happier, he felt fitter, he felt alive. He began taking more and more of this tonic to the point where he was drinking 3 full bottles of Radathor every single day. In 1931, one day, his lower jaw just separated from his skull and went slack. The reason this happened was because Radathor was radioactive water. In the early 1900s, the radioactive element radium was believed to have highly curative properties with no side effects. After consuming over 1,400 bottles of Radathor over a 3-year period, Eben's body was just starting to disintegrate from the inside out. After he had his jaw surgically removed, the rest of his body also just began to crumble. There were holes forming all over his skull that were exposing portions of his brain. And so by 1932, Eben was dead. Eben was buried inside of a lead-lined coffin that was designed to absorb any of the radiation. 30 years after he was buried, scientists exhumed his skeleton, and they determined it was still emitting the same levels of radiation as when he died.
She was pulled over for speeding, and the bodies of 2 children were found inside of her trunk.
You have to open that up all the way. What is that?
Huh?
What is that?
Dirty thing?
No. Open, pull it out. What the f? Get the f in! Put your hands up!
33-year-old Nicole Johnson was asked by her sister to take care of her 2 children, 7-year-old Jocelyn and 5-year-old Larry. This wasn't supposed to be permanent, it was just going to be temporary, and her sister trusted her. Nicole took the kids to a hotel in Baltimore, and at one point she gets very angry with Jocelyn because she is accusing her of taking things that didn't belong to her. She gets so angry with Jocelyn that when she hits her, she falls to the ground and hits her head. Nicole panics and puts Jocelyn in a suitcase for over a year and doesn't tell anybody. It's now 1 year later, and 5-year-old Larry tells Nicole that he's very tired and wants to lay down in the back of the car. Nicole claims this is when all of a sudden Larry stopped breathing. So Nicole places his body inside of a storage bin right next to his sister in the trunk of her car. In July of 2021, Nicole gets pulled over for speeding. As police pull her over, they start to smell this horrid smell. The officer then asks her where this smell is coming from, and she says it's from these blankets that she has in the trunk. But he has a gut feeling that something isn't right. He opens the trunk and does see those blankets, but he also sees a suitcase with maggots coming out from it. Those officers obviously want to see what's inside that suitcase, and when she opens it, they see the body of a child. Upon further searching in that trunk, they find another body of a child. Nicole tries to explain to the officers what had happened to these children and that she didn't know what to do and thought that this was the best option. Nicole honestly believed that hiding these children and not saying anything would be the best option. Once the autopsy was done for both children, it was revealed that they were very malnourished. 7-year-old Jocelyn was only weighing 18 pounds and 5-year-old Larry was weighing 21 pounds. Throughout all of this, Nicole showed no remorse and was sentenced to 50 years in prison.